14 years ago, when he lost his mother, he made an impossible promise. No one on this earth would ever die again. Death would no longer be fate, it would be a choice. Anyone else might have moved on with time. But Victor was different. He was stubborn. He did not know how to step back from his own ideas. Once he decided something, he would turn it into reality, no matter the cost. And that very decision brought him to the edge of the world. The film begins in the Antarctic Ocean. A ship is trapped in the middle of frozen waters, can neither move forward nor turn back. The entire crew is trying to free it from the ice. Suddenly, a bright light appears far across the frozen surface, followed moments later by a loud explosion. To find out what happened, the captain takes a small team to the location. There is blood scattered across the ice, and a tent nearby is burning. A man lies badly injured a short distance away. From his condition, it is clear that something large and powerful attacked him. Then a heavy sound echoes through the silence. In the distance, a massive figure appears on the ice. The captain realizes this is no ordinary man. He immediately orders his crew to take the injured man back to the ship. They carry him aboard, but the creature begins moving toward the ship. The crew opens fire, but the bullets have no effect. It walks straight toward them and kills several men. Each time it says only one thing: "Give me Victor." The creature climbs onto the ship and continues attacking. The captain uses his special 4-barrel rifle and fires. This time the creature falls, but within seconds, it stands back up. It begins shaking the ship violently. Its strength is enough to nearly overturn it. Realizing that shooting it directly will not work, the captain uses his last bullet differently. Instead of aiming at the creature, he fires at the ice beside it. The ice cracks, the surface breaks, and the creature falls into the freezing water below. The crew believes it is dead. The captain goes to the injured man. He is Victor. The captain tells him the strange creature is dead, and that there is nothing to worry about anymore. Victor panics and says it is not dead, cannot be killed. The captain asks what the creature was and why it came looking for him. Victor tells him he created it. The captain is stunned. Victor asks how many men have died. The captain says 6 of his men are gone. Victor explains that killing it is impossible. If it returns, no one on the ship will survive. He tells the captain that the only way to save everyone is to hand him over to the creature if it comes back. The captain, now serious, asks, "How did you create it?" And that is where Victor begins his story. Now the story takes us into his past. Victor explains that he was born into a wealthy and respected family. His father was a famous surgeon with a strong reputation in the medical field. There were only 3 people in the house: his father, his mother, and Victor. His father was strict and highly ambitious. He cared deeply about his work and reputation. He wanted Victor to become a great surgeon just like him, so he put heavy academic pressure on him. There was discipline in the house, but very little warmth. Amid his father's strict nature, the only comfort Victor had was his mother. She was the only one who truly understood him. But that support did not last long. His mother was pregnant, and during delivery, complications arose. The baby survived, but Victor lost his mother. After that day, Victor was never the same. Sometime later, he confronted his father and asked how the greatest surgeon in the city could fail to save his own wife. His father replied that no one has control over death. But that answer was not enough for Victor. That day, he made a decision. He would become such a great scientist that death would not stand before him. Over time, Victor's trust in his father faded. His father's affection was now focused on the younger son, and Victor felt increasingly alone. Soon after, his father also passed away. The family fell into financial crisis and had to leave their home. Victor sent his younger brother to live with relatives, and he chose a different path for himself. He stepped into the world of those who study the human body and the mysteries of life. Now he had only one goal: to understand death and defeat it. After arriving in London, Victor completely immersed himself in his research. Working on dead human bodies day after day, he came to a firm conclusion. Death was not a mystery, but a biological process that could be understood. After several failed attempts, Victor finally developed a method that allowed him to temporarily reactivate a dead human body. By delivering controlled electrical impulses into the nervous system, he could stimulate brief physical responses. The body would react, muscles would twitch, limbs would move, but it wasn't permanent. As soon as the electrical signals stopped, the body would fall back into lifeless stillness. Victor knew his model was incomplete. This was not immortality, it was only temporary revival. Still, he believed he was close. He was convinced that with proper funding, institutional support, and better resources, he could make the process permanent. In 1985, Victor was given the opportunity to present his research at the Royal College of Medicine. The auditorium was filled with students, medical professionals, and members of the disciplinary tribunal. Standing on stage, Victor presented a dead human body, one that had died approximately 24 to 48 hours earlier. The body was incomplete. One arm had been destroyed. Victor had surgically attached a healthy arm from another donor. He inserted specialized electrical pins and began transmitting controlled impulses through the body. Within seconds, the fingers twitched. The attached arm tightened. Victor then threw a ball toward the body, and the reattached hand caught it. The audience gasped. Then applause broke out among the students and several members of the public present. Many were stunned. Some were genuinely impressed. The idea felt shocking, yet revolutionary. Victor seized the moment. He stated that if life is a gift from God, he was not denying that. But why should the decision of when a person lives or dies belong solely to an unseen force? If death is biological, then why can it not be studied, challenged, and eventually controlled? The atmosphere shifted immediately. The tribunal members stood up. They argued that giving and taking life is the authority of God alone. Victor was crossing natural boundaries. His experiment, according to them, was dangerous and morally unacceptable. Victor objected. He insisted that his work was not a spectacle. It was serious scientific research, and he was closer to a breakthrough than they realized. But the judges refused to support him. His documents were rejected, and the presentation was officially shut down. What this incident clearly proved was that Victor could temporarily stimulate a dead human body using electrical impulses, but only for a short duration. His model could revive movement for seconds, perhaps minutes, but it could not sustain life permanently. His research was still incomplete. Despite the rejection, Victor remained convinced that with proper funding and resources, he could perfect the system. Shortly afterward, when he returned home, he found a man waiting at his door. The man introduced himself as Henry. He claimed he had attended the seminar and had taken great interest in Victor's experiment. Henry was financially powerful and involved in military supply operations. He had once been a surgeon himself but had left the profession and moved into business, where he had become extremely wealthy. Henry made his position clear. He was willing to fund Victor's research, provide equipment, facilities, and unlimited financial backing. But he expected results. A few days later, Victor visited Henry's residence. There, he reunited with his brother William, whom he had not seen in a long time. William seemed genuinely happy to see him. Victor, however, did not share the same warmth. Ever since childhood, Victor had felt that their father favored William. That belief had created distance between the brothers, a distance Victor never openly acknowledged but always carried within him. Victor was then introduced to William's fiancée, Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a calm and grounded perspective on life. She believed life was something to be respected and accepted, not altered at will. To her, existence was a balance of nature, not a system to be engineered. Victor, on the other hand, believed that if life was a process, it could be understood, and if understood, it could be controlled. Their conversation revealed this difference clearly. The exchange was polite, but the ideological gap between them was undeniable. As the discussion began to grow tense, Henry suggested that William step outside with him for a walk. Sometime later, Henry took Victor to a secluded tower located far from the city. The structure was isolated, quiet, and removed from public interference. Henry informed Victor that all future research would take place there. No interruptions, no questions, full privacy. He assured Victor that money would not be an issue. Whatever equipment was needed would be delivered. But the experiment had to succeed. Victor immediately began outlining his requirements. He requested heavy battery systems, silver conductors, a long metal rod capable of channeling electrical energy from above, large quantities of fuel, and mechanical structures capable of stabilizing a body during high-voltage transmission. He explained that the body would be secured onto a specialized frame, and energy drawn from above would be directed straight into the nervous system. This marked the beginning of Victor's next and far more ambitious phase of experimentation. Almost all the preparations in the tower had been completed. The batteries had been installed, the silver conductors had been extended up to the roof, and the kerosene-powered equipment had also been set up. The body that Victor had assembled from the parts of different dead bodies had been firmly secured onto a strong iron frame. However, there was still one major thing missing. There was no lightning in the sky. A few days passed like this. Then one evening, the weather changed. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and lightning began to strike. Victor realized that this was the moment he had been waiting for. He immediately went to the tower and began activating the machines. The batteries were connected, the wires were checked, and the silver conductors were adjusted in the correct direction. But he needed assistance, so he went to Henry's room to call him. When he entered, he noticed that Henry was not well. His body had become weak. Victor asked if he was ill. Henry did not clearly admit it, but looking at his condition, Victor understood that he had syphilis. At that time, there was almost no effective treatment for this disease. Henry told Victor that he had fulfilled all his demands: money, equipment, the tower, and everything necessary. Now, in return, he wanted life. He wanted Victor to transfer him into the newly created body, or at least bring him back to life after his death. He did not want to die. Victor clearly refused. He said that Henry's body was severely damaged from within and could not be saved in this way. Outside, the storm was intensifying. Victor knew that this opportunity would not last long. He returned to the tower and began completing the final preparations. At that moment, Henry arrived there as well. He once again insisted that Victor save him. Victor refused again. In anger, Henry picked up a silver conductor and threatened that if Victor did not help him, he would destroy the entire setup. A physical struggle began between them. In the midst of that struggle, Victor forcefully pushed Henry. Henry fell down and died on the spot. Victor paused for a moment, but he did not stop his experiment. At that very moment, lightning struck the metal rod at the top of the tower. The current traveled down through the conductors and directly entered the body that was tied to the frame. All the machines became fully active. After a few moments, everything went silent. There was no movement in the body. Victor assumed that his experiment had failed. Under intense stress, he went to his room and fell asleep due to exhaustion. The next morning, when he woke up, he suddenly sat up in fear. He looked ahead. The same body was standing in front of him. First, he thought it was a dream, but when he approached it, he realized it was real. The body was alive. Its eyes were open, and it was standing unsteadily. Victor's experiment had succeeded. Victor taught it how to sit, how to move its hands, and showed it the sunlight outside. The body he had assembled from dead parts was now standing alive before him. Then we are shown that Victor continues trying to teach the creature he has created. Victor teaches him how to walk, how to sit, how to hold objects, and how to perform basic movements. He begins investing all of his time and energy into training him. But with time, one thing becomes very clear to Victor. The mind of the creature works like that of a newborn child. Physically, he is extremely powerful, but mentally, he is empty. He does not understand language, he cannot differentiate between right and wrong, and he struggles to follow even simple instructions. Victor keeps explaining things again and again, but progress is painfully slow. Gradually, frustration begins to grow inside Victor. He starts feeling that this is not a great achievement. It is an incomplete experiment. He no longer sees the creature as a successful creation, but as an unfinished model, a body that has life but not a fully developed mind. However, there is one thing the creature does repeatedly. He keeps saying one word over and over again: Victor. Victor had told him his name once, and that single word stayed in his mind. While walking, sitting, staring blankly into space, he keeps repeating it. Victor, Victor. Perhaps that is the only thing he truly learned properly. One day, as usual, Victor is trimming the creature's overgrown hair. Suddenly, the creature snatches the grooming tool from Victor's hand. He grips it so tightly that blood begins to flow from his palm. Victor keeps telling him to let go, but the creature does not understand that he is hurting himself. After some struggle, he finally releases the tool. Victor immediately grabs his hand. Blood is visible. For a moment, Victor genuinely feels concern for him. He cleans the hand and tries to apply medicine. But when he looks closely, there is no wound. Where blood was flowing just seconds ago, the skin appears completely normal. Victor realizes that this body possesses the ability to heal itself. This was something he never expected. Meanwhile, the film shows Elizabeth telling William that her uncle has not written to her for a long time. She suspects that her Uncle Henry may have gone to stay with Victor and is helping him with his experiments. She suggests that they should go and visit. Soon after, Elizabeth and William arrive at the tower where Victor is conducting his experiments. Victor welcomes them. He is genuinely happy to see his brother William and excitedly takes him into his research room. He tells him that he has created something extraordinary. Meanwhile, Elizabeth slowly walks further inside. Then she hears a faint voice. Victor, Victor. She follows the sound and sees a large figure sitting there. His body is made of different stitched parts. He is much bigger than an ordinary human. Elizabeth does not panic. She notices the marks and scars on his body and understands that he has been restrained and treated harshly. She goes to Victor and tells him that he is troubling the being. Victor explains that he is not an ordinary human. He is just an experiment, and a failed one at that. He tells her not to pay attention to it. But Elizabeth does not listen. In the following days, she keeps coming back to the tower. She sits near the creature and tries to communicate with him. One day, she tells him her name, Elizabeth. After a few moments, the creature repeats, Elizabeth. Now he does not say only Victor. He begins repeating both names. Victor, Elizabeth. Victor watches all of this silently. The being he considered a failed experiment is behaving differently in Elizabeth's presence. Victor had finally begun to understand that he had made a catastrophic mistake. The experiment he once believed would change the fate of humanity was now unstable, unpredictable, and beyond his control. He had already doubted his theory after seeing the creature's incomplete mental development. He had even preserved Henry's dead body earlier, secretly considering the possibility of repeating the experiment on him in the future, this time more carefully, more perfectly. But now, standing in front of the consequences of his own creation, Victor no longer trusted his own science. He decided everything had to end. Without hesitation, Victor spread kerosene throughout the entire tower. He did not want to fix the experiment. He did not want to improve it. He wanted to erase it. After soaking the structure in kerosene, he walked straight toward the creature. He looked at him with frustration and anger and asked, "Besides my name, what else do you know? Can you say anything else? Can you learn anything more? Or will you just keep repeating Victor forever?" He had grown sick of hearing his own name echoed back at him thousands of times. For a brief moment, the creature stayed silent. Then, instead of saying Victor, he said, Elizabeth, once, then again, and again, for times in total. Elizabeth, 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 Elizabeth. That was enough. Victor's jealousy, insecurity, and anger exploded at once. He could not tolerate the idea that the being he considered a failed model had formed even the smallest emotional connection with Elizabeth. In a fit of rage, Victor ignited the tower. The kerosene caught fire instantly, and flames began spreading rapidly across the structure. Smoke started filling the air within minutes. Victor stepped outside, leaving the creature behind. Inside the burning tower, the fire spread quickly toward the chained creature. At first, he kept repeating Victor, just as he always had. But now the tone was different. He had understood something. If he did not escape, he would burn alive. He was still restrained in heavy iron chains, unable to move freely. The flames were closing in. He shouted Victor's name again and again, this time not as repetition, but as a desperate call for help. Victor heard him. For a brief second, he realized that he should go back and free him. But that hesitation lasted only a moment. The fire continued rising. As the heat intensified, the creature gathered all his strength and pulled violently against the chains. The metal restraints were designed to hold something powerful, strong enough that no ordinary human could ever break them. But the creature was not ordinary. With one massive surge of force, he snapped the chains apart. They broke as if they were made of weak material. It became clear that the strength inside him was far beyond normal human limits, and perhaps impossible to control. Through the smoke and flames, he rushed toward a hidden drainage passage inside the tower, a secret exit that led downward toward the water below. He escaped through that passage and jumped directly into the sea, disappearing into the darkness. Outside, as the fire consumed the tower completely, a powerful explosion suddenly erupted. Victor, who was still nearby, was thrown violently backward by the blast. He hit the ground hard, and in the explosion one of his legs was severely damaged. At that very moment, Elizabeth and William arrived at the scene. Elizabeth had already suspected that Victor might attempt to destroy the creature. She had returned specifically to take him away before anything irreversible happened. But she was too late. The tower was engulfed in flames. The experiment, the lab, the evidence, everything was burning, and Victor lay injured on the ground, watching the consequences of his own ambition collapse before his eyes. Now the creature begins telling his side of the story inside the ship's cabin. He explains that when the fire was spreading inside the tower and he realized that Victor was not coming back to save him, he used all his strength to break the chains. He escaped through the hidden water passage and jumped into the sea. That is how he survived. The scene then shifts. We see him crawling out of the sea onto the shore. He is injured and weak, but alive. Slowly, he walks toward a nearby forest. The forest is a completely new world for him. He observes the trees, touches the ground, feels the air moving around him. There, he notices several old human skeletons scattered around, perhaps people who once died there. He removes the remaining clothes from the skeletons and wears them to cover himself. Soon, hunger begins to trouble him. He plucks fruits from trees and eats them. He also tries feeding some of the nearby animals, as if attempting to befriend them. At that moment, a group of hunters arrives in the forest. They have come to hunt a deer. The creature is sitting near a deer, feeding it fruit. Suddenly, the hunters aim and shoot the deer. The animal collapses in front of him. The sudden violence frightens the creature. He stands up in confusion. As soon as the hunters see his massive figure, they panic and begin firing at him. They shoot repeatedly. Several bullets hit his body, and he is badly injured. He starts running to save himself. The hunters chase him, but he manages to escape deeper into the forest. While running, he reaches an old abandoned house. The building is damaged and silent. Without wasting time, he rushes inside and hides in a dark corner. Inside the house, there are large, old machines, the kind that might have once been used in a factory or mill long ago. Now they are rusted and unused. In that dark, forgotten corner, wounded and exhausted, the creature hides himself. The creature explains that the old house where he had been hiding actually belonged to the same hunters who had shot at him in the forest. From the outside, the house looked worn and abandoned, but inside, a family lived there. The creature began secretly observing them. He noticed that there was a woman, a little girl, and an elderly man who could not see. For the first time, he began to understand that humans were not only hunters. They also had families, relationships, and bonds. He started watching them closely, and slowly he began to like them. He remained hidden in a dark corner of the house for a long time. Gradually, he began helping them without revealing himself. Sometimes he brought firewood from the forest and left it near the door. Sometimes he placed food quietly outside. At night, he would clean parts of the yard without being seen. The family could not understand who was helping them. Days passed. The creature often listened to the elderly man as he taught the little girl. He explained the world to her, spoke about right and wrong, and described how people should treat one another. The creature carefully listened to every word. He began learning language by memorizing their conversations. Slowly, he started understanding how humans think. One day, the family decided they had to travel to the city for some time. They asked the elderly man to come along, but he refused and chose to stay home. As soon as the other family members left, the creature finally stepped out of hiding. For the first time, he stood openly before the old man. The old man calmly said that he already knew someone had been hiding in the house for a long time. He said he was not afraid because he could not see, and what cannot be seen cannot be judged by appearance. That moment marked the beginning of a connection between them. Gradually, a quiet friendship formed. The old man spoke to him kindly, listened patiently, and began teaching him new things about trust, humanity, and compassion. One day, the old man asked him a simple question. "Who are you? And where do you come from?" The creature had no answer. In order to discover his identity, he returned to the tower where he had been created. When he arrived, found everything burned and destroyed. Broken walls, twisted metal, and ashes everywhere. He searched through the remains. Among the debris, he found some surviving documents and a photograph. After reading those papers, he discovered a horrifying truth. His body did not belong to one person. He had been assembled from different human body parts. And through those documents, he finally learned the name of his creator, Victor. From that moment on, he was no longer searching only for identity. Now he wanted answers. Why was he created? And for what purpose? After discovering the truth in the ruins of the tower, the creature immediately returns to the old house. The first thing on his mind is the old man. As he approaches the house, he hears unusual movement from inside. The door is slightly open. He steps in carefully and sees that several wolves have entered the house. The inside is in chaos. His heart begins to pound. He fears that the wolves may have harmed the old man. He rushes inside. What he sees stops him in his tracks. The old man lies on the floor. The wolves have attacked him. Without hesitation, the creature lunges at the wolves. He kills several of them and the rest flee. He lifts the old man into his arms. But it is too late. The old man's breathing is fading. Within moments, he dies in the creature's arms. This is the creature's first true loss. The first human being he ever felt connected to is now gone. At that very moment, the rest of the family returns. They stop at the doorway, their father's lifeless body on the ground, and the massive creature standing beside him. They do not ask questions. They do not wait for explanations. For them, the culprit is obvious. They immediately grab their guns and begin firing at him. The creature steps back repeatedly. He tries to gesture that he did not do this. He attempts to show them that he tried to save the old man. But no one is willing to listen. Bullets tear through his body. Eventually, in self-defense, he strikes one of the men. The man collapses instantly. Seeing this, the others become even more enraged. The shooting continues. After being hit multiple times, the creature weakens. He tries to escape, but finally collapses to the ground. His body lies motionless. The hunters believe he is dead. They leave him there and go inside to mourn their father. Hours pass. The creature's fingers twitch slightly. His chest begins to rise and fall again. His eyes slowly open. He struggles to sit up. For a moment, he believes he has died. But then he realizes something terrifying. The wounds in his body are healing rapidly. The places where bullets entered are closing. Flesh reconnects. Skin seals. Within a short time, he stands up again. Now he understands something clearly. He is not just different. He is nearly impossible to kill. As the story moves forward, the atmosphere shifts completely. It is William's wedding day. The entire house is filled with celebration. Music, lights, guests. Everything reflects joy and festivity. Elizabeth appears happy. William looks content and proud. Victor is present as well. One of his legs is gone. After the tower explosion, he now walks with the help of a prosthetic leg. On the outside, he tries to appear composed, but internally he is fractured. After some time, Victor decides to approach Elizabeth to congratulate her on the wedding. He walks toward her, but the moment he attempts to speak, Elizabeth slaps him hard across the face. She says, "You are a disgusting man. You deliberately killed that innocent being. You burned him alive. You are truly vile." Victor stands there for a moment, stunned. Anger and humiliation flash across his face. Without responding, he walks away. He enters his room and shuts the door. And then he freezes. In the dark corner of the room, someone is already there. The creature. He stands quietly. This time, there is no immediate violence in his posture, only exhaustion. In a calm voice, he says, "Forget what happened. I do not seek revenge. I only want a family. Create someone like me, a woman, so I will not be alone. I will leave this world and disappear. I just want companionship." Victor listens, but there is no trust in his eyes. He replies, "I have already made one mistake. I will not make another. I created a being that cannot die. And now you want me to create another one? Do you intend to fill this world with creatures like yourself? Your intentions are not pure." With that, Victor pulls out his gun. He begins firing at the creature. Gunshots echo through the building. Hearing the noise, Elizabeth rushes toward the room. In the chaos, one bullet goes astray, and this time it strikes Elizabeth instead of the creature. She collapses. Blood spreads rapidly. Within seconds, others arrive at the scene. Panic erupts. Victor immediately shouts, "He shot her! This monster did it!" The guests see the creature's enormous figure and step back in fear. No one dares to attack him. William steps forward. He tries to confront the creature, but the creature throws him aside with a single powerful motion. William crashes against the wall and is critically injured. Then the creature lifts Elizabeth in his arms and leaves. Victor rushes to William. William struggles to breathe. Looking at Victor, he whispers, "You destroyed everything that ever loved you. I will never forgive you." Moments later, he dies. Meanwhile, the creature carries Elizabeth to a cave where he has been hiding. Victor, armed with his gun, follows him. Inside the cave, Victor finds Elizabeth's lifeless body laid upon a rock. His world shatters. Suddenly, the creature grabs him from behind and slams him to the ground. He breaks Victor's nose and leans close to him. "Now you understand what pain feels like," the creature says. "You created me. Now you will live with me. If you have the courage, try to kill me." He releases Victor, and from that moment, a new journey begins. This is no longer the story of creator and creation. It has become a hunt. The creature declares, "I will stand before you again and again. Each time, try to kill me." From this point, the chase between Victor and the creature turns into a relentless game of cat and mouse. Victor tries again and again to kill him. Each time, the creature survives. Bullets, traps, pursuit. Nothing is enough. This pursuit continues for months. From cities to forests. From forests to frozen wastelands. Eventually, their chase leads them to the edge of the world, the North Pole. Snow, storms, endless silence. There, once again, they stand face to face. The creature looks at Victor and says, "This is your final chance. If you can kill me, do it now. If you fail, I will give you another wound, one that will never heal." He continues, "Give me whatever weapons you have. I will try to kill myself with them. If I survive, then accept that this is not your victory. It is your failure." Victor remains silent. There is exhaustion in his eyes, but his obsession is still alive. He takes out all the dynamite he has brought with him. He ignites it. Within seconds, massive explosions shake the frozen land. Ice shatters. Flames rise into the storm-filled sky. For a few moments, everything disappears into smoke and fire. And then, through the smoke, a figure stands again. The creature is still alive. It is this explosion that draws the ship's captain and his men to the location. The story now returns to the present. Victor lies wounded on the ice. The creature sits beside him. There is no rage on his face now, only fatigue and emptiness. Victor speaks slowly. I made a terrible mistake. I never tried to understand you. I am ashamed of what I did. I should have treated you like a son, but I treated you like a failed experiment. Like an animal. He pauses. His breathing grows weaker. You were not just my creation. You were my responsibility, and I failed. Forgive me. For the first time, there is no arrogance in Victor's voice, only regret. With trembling hands, he places his palm on the creature's forehead, the way a father touches his child. The creature does not pull away. Moments later, Victor's breathing stops. He is dead. The creature remains seated beside him for some time. Then he slowly stands and begins to walk away. The ship's captain orders his men. No one fires. Let him go. By now, the captain understands something important. Just as Victor was blinded by obsession, he himself had been blinded by his determination to conquer the North Pole. His men were starving, sick, and exhausted. He realizes he must abandon his pride and return home. As the creature walks away across the ice, he pushes the trapped ship free from the frozen barrier. In a final act, he helps the very people who feared him. The ship begins to move. The captain chooses to turn back. And thus the story ends. This was not merely the story of a monster. It was the story of responsibility, arrogance, regret, and the consequences of creating life without understanding it.